Okay, let's look at Chapter 8 quiz. So let me go back into Blackboard and exit that student preview. Go. All right, Chapter 8 quiz. All right, so we got about 20 questions possible. We did pretty good. We had four questions that were answered correctly, all who received it, and then we start going down. Oh, let me sort these by average score. There we go. So then we have our 90s, we have our 80s, and we have our 70s, and then we have those two, which is actually still pretty good. Like to hopefully see no questions under that 70 threshold, but two's getting better. All right, so the first one is a blank determines the capability of the mobile device, such as the screen resolution, and directs browsers to CSS. So our four options were flexible image, viewport, media query, and fragment identifier. All right, so this is completely out of the question because this is simply a way we can use our anchors, right, with fragment identifiers or bookmarks or named fragments, right? This is the alternative names that we have for fragment identifiers, so I'm glad nobody chose that one. Flexible image and viewport, these essentially are two things that we use, right, to make our pages responsive, right, one of the components that we use, okay? But really it's the media query that essentially determines or detects, right, those capabilities and then sends, right, the proper CSS and says, yep, use this CSS set of instructions or rules. Okay, so it's media query is the answer. All right. And the second one, how would you configure a hyperlink from the index.html file? So now where do we typically put index, right? To another file named services.html, which is located in a subfolder named categories, right? So the index is in the root, and then we have a file called services in a folder or subfolder or subdirectory called categories. And so we had four options to choose from. So we know that the last one, I'm glad nobody chose it. Not even possible because it's not even a link without some of those attributes that's going to help. We have one here that's simply a relative, right, link to the file within the same folder. Notice, so there's no directory reference at all, right? So it's assuming that index and services are in the same folder, right? Not going to happen for us. They're in two separate locations. Now, our two choices with categories in it, right, is the first one. And the first one has that, essentially that identifier that allows us to go backwards or out of a folder and into the previous, right, or parent directory or folder. So the ... / is essentially saying, get out of whatever directory I'm in, right, and then go look for categories and the file called services, right? But since we're in the home page, which is in the root, we don't have to go out and go back into a parent directory because we are in the parent directory. We simply have to go forward into a folder and then the file, right? So there's no need to go backwards, which the ... / does for us, right? We don't have to go one level up and then to go back in. We simply have to go in from the root to categories. So the second option is the correct one. Okay. All right, are there any other questions that you'd like me to review or go over? All right. Okay. Fantastic.